Hello and welcome to Wicked Pixels. This is our next Slay the Spire 2 build guide, this time for the Silent class. Silent is probably the most powerful class in the game, probably also one of the most tricky to use or get the hang of, apart from the new Sly keywords. Lots of really powerful Sly cards that you can cast by just discarding them. So that's a really easy mechanic, but this one is actually going to be focused on a card called Knife Trap. Knife Trap is going to do all our damage in a very cool way. It's also going to generate lots of block as well. So let's have a little look at this build melting the final boss of the run, and then I'll talk you through the build, exactly what cards you're going to need to look out for to get this one going. Alright. Alright, so here's the build that we've just shown you, basically melting a boss. Really fun build. It really focuses on this card here, which is Knife Trap. So this one is a 2-cost skill, and bear in mind it is a skill that's quite an important distinction, because that's going to work really well with another card that we've got in the deck. This essentially plays every Shiv in your exhaust pile on the enemy, Shivs being those 0-cost 4 damage cards that you're going to use lots of different builds for the Silent, but this one is just going to make sure that every time you use a Shiv, you're building a little pile of Shivs that when you play this, it's just going to play them all off the pile and does lots of damage. When we upgrade that, it actually upgrades the Shivs and does more damage as well. So upgrades and then plays every Shiv in your exhaust pile. So it's still a 2-cost, but it's definitely worth it because, as I say, it's going to generate lots of damage and block at the same time. The reason why it generates so much block is because you're using this card here. So After Image is a power. Whenever you play a card, you gain 1 block. So that includes the Shivs that are going to be played for free, that we're going to be playing off a couple of cards in the deck. And then once we start playing the Knife Trap, is going to play loads and loads of Shivs, and it's going to generate lots of block additional on top of any block that we've got from other cards. All this does when we upgrade it, actually, it's important to mention, it makes it an 8, which means that we're going to be able to play this on our first turn, no problem. It's just going to appear in our first hand. So we play this as the first thing that we do, and then every time we're playing our cards, we're going to generate some block. Once we start playing loads of Shivs, we're going to generate lots of block. So this is a really cool card. It works really well with a lot of different builds, but this one in particular, any Shiv build where you're playing lots of 0-cost cards, this is a really good card to have. So it's kind of like the synergy between those two is the main thing we're looking for. There is one more card, however, that is really going to set this off. And as you've just seen in terms of melting that boss, is this one here. So this is Burst. This is a really cool card that works with any skill. Basically, it plays your next skill that you use after you play this an extra time. When you upgrade it, it actually does the next 2 skills. So this is a really important card for generating lots of block very quickly, because you can play a block card and it will get doubled effectively. But in this case, we're also going to play out Knife Trap twice. So large cost skills are the best ones to target with this, and if you can manage to make enough mana to play a couple of them in a turn, you're going to get lots of value out of this. So I would say Burst is a really good card for most builds, not just this one. especially anything that's focusing on block building. Really, really cool card. In fact, that it's a skill that you're going to be using, obviously then synergizes with Knife Trap. So those 3 cards effectively are the main things you're going to need to get this build off the ground. We are going to need a little bit of Shiv generation as well. So there's there's quite a lot of different cards that you can get within the silent card options, but the main thing I would keep an eye out for is Blade Dance. So Blade Dance does seem quite weak on the face of it, so it just generates 3 shivs and then it exhausts itself, so it's a 1 use only, but all we really need is to generate those shivs very quickly, and this is a really cheap way to do that. When we upgrade it, it'll actually give you 4 shivs, so we play a couple of these out, you know, we've got 8 shivs in our exhaust pile, and then we're ready to start hitting the Knife Trap and start doing lots of damage. Obviously we want to be generating more than 8 if we can, so I've got a couple of Blade Dances in here, upgraded if is preferable, so I think we managed to hit 2, and then we've also looking at any other cards effectively that are going to give you some extra shivs. So as many shivs as you can make in a single cast is what you really need. Another really good card here that worked really well for us was the Fan of Knives. So this is another power, it's 2 cost, so it's quite expensive, but this means that shivs now hit all enemies. Probably the biggest weakness of any shiv build, where you're just targeting single enemies at a time with small attacks and lots of them, is that you generally struggle against large packs of creatures. As soon as you hit Fan of Knives, then the shivs are hitting every enemy, so you don't need to worry about what you're attacking or just focusing down one enemy at a time. You can just go all out with your shivs and it will hit everything. This is really useful as well because it also generates 4 shivs straight off the bat, 5 when it's upgraded, so this makes a little pile of exhausted shivs very, very quickly, as well as adding that AoE effect. Now most bosses and most enemies in the game tend to come in packs. There are obviously a lot of enemies that are solo, but for the most part it tends to be packs of enemies, and this is really, really useful. You don't really need to worry about any other AoE once you've got this in your hand. So another one to keep an eye out for there for sure. Shadow Meld, I would suggest picking this up if you can get it. This doubles your block gain each turn. The main thing you're going to struggle with early on when you're starting to get this build off the ground is you get your after images, you get that in an 8 upgraded, so it's an 8, and then you can start playing out your shivs. But because you might not be playing out as many as you want to quickly, you might not generate enough block from this, so you might need to rely on some of your other block cards. Now, I did manage to pick up a 0 cost Deflect, and I think that's a really good card to upgrade with any kind of plus blocks that you can get. It's always going to be free, it's always going to give you good value, so I think this is a really good all-round card to pick up in any build just to keep you going in the early stages of the game. We generally, with this kind of build, want to get rid of all our strikes and all our defends, as with most builds in the game. Another little value card, which is not the best card in the deck, but it's definitely going to be helpful. Again, especially early on, one of the things that Silent can struggle with is generating block if you don't get lucky and pick up some slide cards, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So this just gives you +2 dexterity, so any block card that you use discreetly for blocking will just get extra value. So it's a decent card to play early, and it should keep your health topped up reasonably well as you're going through the first few floors. Once you get a little bit further into your run and you've got lots of ways of generating shivs, as soon as you start hitting Knife Trap with 10 plus cards, you're essentially getting 10 block, and then if you double that up with your burst, you're then going to get 20 block from having 10 shivs in your draw pile. So it's a 2 cost, 20 block, like really good value. And then if you need to, deflect and any other just normal block card. If you can find the mana, obviously playing 2 Knife Traps out, it's going to net you 40 block. It's going to do a lot of damage as well, so really, really cool. We've also managed to find Untouchable, which I think is probably an S tier card in pretty much any silent deck. The reason why this is so good is that it's Sly, and Sly is an absolutely broken keyword in the game at the moment. I've got a feeling, this being early access, they may look to change Sly because it's a little bit too powerful at the moment. We're definitely going to show you some discard builds for the silent, which are just absolutely broken. It's one of the best builds in the game. Effectively, all you do is you discard your entire hand over and over again. It does damage and it fills your block up very, very quickly. A couple of cards in particular are going to absolutely break this. Any way of discarding the game will basically net you block for free, and we obviously come with that pre-prepared with our Survivor. So Survivor comes baked in with the discards. We've got options to do that early, but then we look for Prepared, which is probably the most broken card in the game. It's a 0 cost, draw 2, discard 2, and when you can pick up cards that you can sly, you can just discard and gain the benefit of, this becomes incredible. It's a really, obviously, cheap way of milling through your deck, looking for the cards that you need, benefiting from discarding. It's absolutely insane. So Prepared, always pick that up if you can get it in any deck at all, because it will help you find the cards that you need to get the combos going that you want to get going. A couple of things that we also managed to pick up, again, I wouldn't say these are essential for the build, but always useful. Abrasive, because it's sly, you can ignore that free cost. You just need to discard this once, and then you'll get 4 thorns and 1 dexterity, which is going to help you survive and also help kill lots of enemies that do multiple attacks. I think this is a really strong card, especially if you do have a couple of discard cards in your deck as well. Now, because we do have access to lots of discard as the Silent, we don't need to worry about having a 20 card deck. So 20 card deck is quite large and generally a bit bloated in most classes' case, but in the case of the Silent, we've got loads of access to discard cards that are going to cycle through, and we're going to be able to discard lots of things and then draw new cards. So we're not too worried about having 20 cards in the deck at all. Finally, we also obviously kept the neutralizing, because it's very, very useful just to get through big burst windows, especially enemies that are using multiple attacks. It's just really useful for any elite hunting that you're doing. And we also, I think that was it. That was probably about it, actually. Hidden daggers, so just more discard, more shivs into your hand. I did pick up 2 of these, and again, it just comes back to that. If you've got some slide cards in your hand, you want as many discard cards as you can get, preferably discard draw, and it'll just be really easy ways of netting extra block while you're shiving out, because it's going to generate 2 shivs as well. It's 2 upgraded shivs if you upgrade it. So really strong card for any shiv build. Would recommend that you pick that up as well. Just a few things to mention as we went through the run. We did start off, so we actually started the run with Knife Trap, and that's how we made the build to start with. So I would recommend picking this up as soon as you can. If you see it in the shop and you can afford it, or if you see it pop up in the rewards from any battles, I would say nab this, and you pretty much set your build for, after image appears a lot, you'll definitely be able to find that one, and then hopefully you find a burst in the shop as well, just to really set this off. I think with those 3 cards in play, you're pretty much guaranteed to make this work. Lots of different ways of generating shivs. Just find a couple of them, stick them in your deck, and then make sure that you are looking to keep yourself alive with things like a 0 cost defense and possibly a footwork, just to help you survive for the first few rounds. A couple of other relics that we picked up. Bag of Prep, which is always good, gives you 2 additional cards at the start, so helps you get your powers off the ground. We did get this Petrified Toe that was dropping in 15 damage rock potions into our potion slots. I mean, these are just it's a free 15 damage for every battle, like nothing to be sniffed at unless you end up with a stack of potions that you're trying to hold on to for some reason. But yeah, really good relic if you can get lucky and pick that one up. We did also get this, which you may have noticed in the footage of me melting that last boss. This is insane. It's actually the reward from picking up the key as you go through the dungeon run. You'll have a battle early in the 2nd floor, I believe, where you find a key as one of your rewards, and if you continue into the 3rd part of the dungeon and then you hit one of the events, you will usually get the chance to turn this key in. This is what you get, so it's called History Course. At the start of your turn, play a copy of your last played attack or skill. So the last thing we generally play, because we're going to play as many shifts as we can before we do it, is going to be Knife Trap. So at the start of our turn, we get to Knife Trap for free, basically fire off all those shivs, of which is going to be 10, 15, maybe even 20 shivs, and we're going to generate a lot of damage and a lot of block very instantly at the start of a turn. So absolutely insane. Go Seed, make strikes and defense, gain Ethereal. I would recommend, if you haven't managed to clear many out of your deck and you see this, I'd say pick it up, because it means you don't have to worry so much of getting rid of those. Another really overpowered relic that is incredible that you get from the what's it called, Glory tanks, sorry, the ancient tanks at the start of the 3rd floor. Absolutely insane picks. The Meat Cleaver allows you to cook at rest sites. It lets you remove 2 cards from your deck, and then you gain 9 max HP at a rest site. So for this Silent in particular, who has one of the lowest starting totals, is probably one of the weakest in terms of health pool in general. this is really good for just adding an extra max HP, but also removing 2 cards at any rest site is insane. It means you can very quickly shrink your deck down to a good size, get rid of all the cards you don't need, and get your deck running really efficiently. Alright guys, so I'm not going to run you through all the other cards for this one. I think there's lots of very easy cards to use. There's cards that generate block and give you shivs, there's ones that discard and give you shivs, there's ones that give you shivs when you attack. Basically any combination of those with as many shivs as you can get, with the knife trap, with the after images, and then if you do manage to find the burst, that's going to absolutely set you off. I think you're going to have fun with this one, guys. Alright, hopefully this was helpful. If it was, please drop us a like and subscribe, comment below. I'd love to see a little bit of chat in the comments as well. Alright, stay tuned for more build guides coming up shortly, and stay tuned for more from Wicked Pixels on the way.